thanks for joining. So we have two very illustrious speakers with us today, and we really want to dig into what is really a hot topic in the blockchain community right now, which is the emergence of zk-rollups and zk-Sync as being one of the leaders in that space. So firstly, Alex, as CEO, as part of the founding team, I'm always interested to hear from, what is the origin story of zk-Sync? Who came together? How did you guys come together? Why did you guys come together?
Sure, really happy to share that. So I was born in Soviet Union and raised in Ukraine right after the collapse of Soviet Union. Moved to Germany later to study and work there, and I was working tried myself in academia. I was in startups and like sort of enterprise, and like all these experiences made me fascinated about the idea of how the degree of freedom and like just the way people organize work impacts the outcome, impacts the motivation, and all the things. And like freedom crystallized as this corner, like the key element that enables the maximum capacity, like the maximum engagement of every individual there. And when crypto appeared, when Bitcoin first appeared, and started to get traction, it felt to me like it's the most interesting technology to promote crypto in the real world, to actually tangibly change the world to become a much more free place economically. And like, economics is just a matter of cooperation, like people working together and things. And I have a background in technology. I studied computer science. I was taking part in Olympiads in informatics. So like I'm very deeply interested in technological development and computers, etc. I was working as CTO in startups. So like that was a combination of two passions of mine that I could not resist. I realized I had to jump all in on this. Went to Hong Kong for a year, was researching the space, going to different conferences, learning as much as I could. I realized if crypto promise is to be fulfilled and to go mainstream, there must be, like there are a few problems that must be solved. And scalability, usability, security, a few others. And it was clear there are a lot of really smart people working on most of the solutions and with a very clear path how to solve them. And scalability felt like an exception because we just lacked the technological breakthrough required to do that. Everything we had, like Plasma, state channels, payment channels, Lightning Network, just felt not fit in. It was not elegant. It could not take us to this mass adoption to millions of people using. Until I learned about zero-knowledge proofs, and specifically SNARKs, succinct zero-knowledge proofs, like proofs of computational integrity that can compress arbitrary amounts of information, like a computational structure, into very short proofs, which can be verified from any smartphone in like 50 milliseconds. And that was mind-blowing. I realized I have to go and work on this, and I started to look for people, and I found my co-founder at DEF CON in Prague. And we started talking, and from the first day, we immediately realized we should just be working on this, and here's how it started.
That's amazing to hear, all from a conversation at DEF CON. So Steve, just on the Ethereum side, we've been through the merge. The community's looking forward, obviously looking for growth in a number of different areas. Let's build on this point of scaling. For the audience, what does zk-rollups provide? And particularly uniquely, what does zk-Sync offer the community?
Yeah, I mean, we're just coming off the merge, which is like the huge moment that we've had this year. And a lot of people are thinking like, what's the next big moment for crypto? And Vitalik said, zk-rollups are going to be the end game for scaling Ethereum. And we've all been waiting for a general purpose zk-rollup that supports Solidity, that is EVM compatible, that is open source, and has all those magical right ingredients that everybody's been looking for. And what's amazing is we just came off the merge, and the next big moment is actually right upon us. And there's a lot of light shining on us right now, and a lot of expectations that we better meet, because we are launching in 29 days. And we are the beginning of that solution that Vitalik talked about. And what we're launching is a layer 2 solution that'll about 10x Ethereum. It may grow to around 100x Ethereum over time. And then we also today, this morning, I gave a speech on what we're doing for layer 3, which is actually the next phase of that, where you get into 100x, 1000x. You can even get up to hundreds of thousands of transactions per second with the layer 3 Validium in the future. So it's an exciting time. We are nervous. You know, we are worried about our launch just in the same way we all watched the merge happen. And I think the whole world is watching us as we launch layer 2. And then for those people that join the ZK bus on layer 2, you get layer 3 for free. And it's a really exciting time to watch all these projects porting from optimistic rollups or side chains or alt L1s or even projects that were on Ethereum before. They're now porting to us, and it's like a fire hose of excitement to us, but it's also nerve-wracking too. So super exciting time, super proud to be part of Alex's mission and joining that mission to scale Ethereum's values and to do everything we can to accelerate personal sovereignty. And to be part of that mission, to be we're not a mission-driven company. I actually had someone come up to me and say, you're such a mission-driven company. And I was like, no, you don't understand, we're not a company. We are only the mission. And we really, really imbue those values in the company, and it's just such an absolute joyride to be doing what we're doing in the company.
I like the way you put that. So with the user transition that you mentioned, I'm sure there's an avalanche of interest already, but how do you see that emerging? I mean, you have your mainnet launch. I'm sure there'll be several phases and so on, but how do you see that happening over time with users?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we're seeing first is I would say next year I'm going to call it the Great Port. So everybody is porting from these optimistic rollups or side chains or alt L1s to us, and then after that, when we launch L3, EIP 4844, which is another big moment that's coming, and then we see the number of use cases multiply by 1,000. It's going to be an amazing time to see different types of ideas come in that weren't possible when the scale wasn't there. So think of us as limitless scaling for Ethereum and limitless composability for Ethereum. And that's just going to make the use cases go nuts. And then the other big thing we're going to do is try to make it easy for people, and that's going to be a key component.
That's great. I mean, so let's talk about use cases, Alex. I mean, so zk-rollups and zk-Sync, with the capabilities you provide, scalability you provide, will potentially create a whole family of new use cases. Are there any in particular that really pique your interest?
It's really hard to say because the bigger picture, the bigger vision for zk-Sync that we have is to turn Ethereum into the internet of value for the entire world. So, like, to take what we have now with a very limited, like Ethereum is a world computer, but it's more like a world mainframe. We want to take it and with this capability to go infinite, like literally infinite, like no bounds on the number of users, transactions, applications that you can deploy there, and fully interconnected. And it will look differently than what we're used to when we think about blockchains today. It can be a monolithic system. You can't imagine the internet being run on a single server, right? That's not how things work. Like, you need parallelism, you need some differentiation of lots of customization, lots of different things built by different people. But everything is interconnected, just like internet. Everything is one click away, and just really one click, not 10 clicks, not that approve some ERC20 transactions and then wait and do something. No, it must be exactly as easy as it is today to interact with the internet. So now, when you're building internet, it's really hard to predict what people are going to be coming up with. If you ask me, in 2010, what are the use cases for internet? I would not be able to predict Uber, Tinder, Airbnb, all those things, right? It's hard, but our mission is to make this infrastructure layer that does that enables this, arbitrary scale, arbitrary throughput.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, so Steve, in terms of the product roadmap, building out this infrastructure layer, that will unlock a whole bunch of use cases that we don't obviously know about. But what does that product roadmap look like beyond 29 days? And what part does Chainlink play in that roadmap?
Yeah, Chainlink's I think gonna play a pretty big part of it. So like when you think about what opens up when scaling is possible, when scaling becomes real, you get a lot of different possible futures that could exist. And there are these 10x moments that exist as you roll out and mature in ecosystems. You could have a 10x moment in scale. You could have a 10x moment in lowering cost. But one of the 10x moments that's going to be absolutely important for adoption is a 10x increase in ease of use for the developer. So imagine right now, all of our SDKs and CLI tools are very rudimentary. They're very young. They're very immature. I could imagine a possible future where we rig up a developer so that basically as they're working on building their customized blockchain and their dApp to that blockchain, that Chainlink is just a required element and just part of their SDK. It just is. It just exists. It's like, yes, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want this, boom, go. It's no longer needing like a super senior engineer to figure things out. I can imagine a world where it goes super senior engineer, intermediate engineer, junior engineer, and eventually getting to a phase where it's low code, no code, and it's sort of the Shopify of blockchain. And that sort of road and those little 10x increments where you get the most important components of the system like Chainlink, they are the required parts of the system. You cannot really do these things without Chainlink. And imagine a world in which requiring that into your project is a button click instead of a lot of code and a lot of worry and a lot of difficulty. And then imagine that the way that you pay for these services like Chainlink is also massively simplified in some way. These are the things that we see as these 10x ease of use moments that are going to cause massive changes in how many developers this could be accessible to. And then additionally, we don't talk about it, but we have an LLVM compiler as part of our chain, and that allows us to say not only Solidity, but any of the other modern languages. So composability goes through the roof. So now we can have Java, Python, Go, all of these other languages, and then imagine all of those SDKs with you guys pre-built in. And that's just, we haven't even begun to talk about this, but this is a possible future that we are constantly thinking of, and I think it would be a leapfrog moment if we made it 10x easier for people to just embed Chainlink all the time, every time.
I'm really liking hearing from both of you about the focus on user experience. I think it's something that, particularly in blockchain, we've all been quite guilty of not spending enough time on. And people always talk about the next billion users, but if you don't have that focus on UX, you're not going to get to that billion users. So maybe just coming up to close, but keeping things practical, a question to both of you. You recently launched your fair launch service for users. But what's the best way, those that are here or those that are watching online, how do they get involved? How do they find out more? How do they potentially start to use zk-Sync?
So, as you can imagine, we are getting a fire hose of projects that want to launch on zk-Sync 2, the layer 2 solution. And one of the things that is paramount in our company is security comes first, and making sure that we launch safely and effectively out there. So we are and I give Anthony credit, our VP of engineering out there, we are not going to YOLO onto mainnet. We are going to take this in a very principled and careful way. So after we launch on October 28th on the mainnet, we're going to be kicking the tires and making sure everything is secure for maybe a month, maybe 2 months. It's really just however long it is until we feel like it's secure. Then when we reach that milestone, we are going to invite all of the dApps to begin building on us. But we're going to gate the customers. We're not going to let the customers in, but we're going to let the app companies in. Then we're going to beat that to death and make sure that that is solid. And then we will eventually just lift the gate and then have a fair launch, and all the users can come in at the same time. And that's going to be another big moment that everybody's going to be watching. But we're not going to just launch on the main net and be like, hope for the best. We really want to stress in every way possible that security is of paramount to us. And we don't pick like a marketing date and say, well, we have to hit the marketing date. What we want to do is say, our date is when the milestone is complete, the milestone is complete. If we do happen to have a 90% assurance when that date is going to occur, we issue it in the public roadmap. But it is security that will be driving the decision on how we roll out. If people want to get involved, they can join the testnet, or we have a whitelist service that they can sign up for now. And that's how they can participate in the project. Then we'll have our technical docs and tutorials and things like that rolling out.
Got it, thank you. And Alex, I want to kind of bring you back to the original mission that we spoke about from the beginning, your vision for the company, working with your co-founders, and kind of some of those drivers that you spoke about as to why you're doing this. So now when you speak with, say, users that are interested, perhaps users that are not interested, how do you typically pitch and bring it all together in terms of that mission of, why zk-rollups, why zk-Sync, why Ethereum, for example? But how do you bring that all together when you get that type of question?
Sure. So the mission of Matter Labs, of zk-Sync, is to accelerate the mass adoption of crypto for personal sovereignty. That is very important to stress. It's not just to accelerate the mass adoption, because that you can do that by just putting up a few centralized servers and just get the banks to run the blockchain, right? That is not what blockchain is for. That is not what we're paying for. All this overhead of decentralization, which makes things expensive. Like the computation that you run on Ethereum costs nothing to compute. It's just like tiny bits of computation, but we are paying hundreds of dollars. Like there was at the times of gas price being very high, people used to pay it. Why? Because it gives you something that you cannot get anywhere else on the internet, namely like something that is, you own it to a degree that world's most powerful nation states cannot really take it from you easily. They would have to attack the entire network and do crazy war on crypto to prohibit you from being able to really own these assets. So this degree of ownership is unprecedented. It's stronger than gold, because you can just have it. You can write down the secret phrase, hide it somewhere, and it's a lot easier to protect, a lot easier to transact with people across borders. So this level of freedom and ownership and sovereignty is what characterizes blockchains. So what's important for us is to preserve these properties, not just to scale Ethereum, but to scale it to millions of people, to arbitrary number of transactions, but fully preserving the properties of, let's say, security, censorship resistance, liveness also, because the system must remain operational at all times, no matter what. You want to avoid denial of service attack vectors, and that is hard. And this is why zk-rollups. No other method of scaling gives you the guarantees of, let's say, security higher than the pure math and pure reliance on all the participants of the network. So the beauty of blockchains like Ethereum and Bitcoin is that you do not rely on any honest majority. You don't really rely on validators of Ethereum. You don't have to trust them, even if the majority, even if all of them, or 99% of them, overnight became malicious. The community can always fork away and continue on the branch of Ethereum that is legit. Even if it's a minority of users, they can still fork away and do this operation, right? So you only have this property fully preserved with a zk-rollup. Nothing else, not optimistic rollups, no side chains, nothing else guaranteed this, right? So this is hugely valuable. And then you go beyond that and you extrapolate it, if with layers of complexity, you get more players, more liveness, more we can innovate with cryptography to try to solve the MEV problem, the censorship problem, et cetera, et cetera. So there are more things, but that is the core. I hope I could bring it up.
It's brilliant. Thanks so much for wrapping that up, Alex. Bringing it all back to the philosophy of it. Alex, Steve, really appreciate your time here today. 29 days to mainnet. Is that right? 29
days to mainnet. We have a gigantic multi-thousand-person ice cream crazy party tonight. If you'd like to go to the ice cream history of ice cream, we have multiple custom flavors. And if you want to see an expanded talk on all of this, we did an hour-and-a-half on Bankless this previous Tuesday that you all can watch. But hope to see you at the ice cream event tonight. It's going to be, we're doing it with Chainlink. It's going to be amazing and can't wait to see you guys there.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Niki.